The Sega Dreamcast was released on September 9th, 1999 here in North America. As of the publishing of this video, exactly 20 years ago, the Dreamcast celebrating its 20th birthday here in North America, which is crazy. It makes me feel super old. And I love the Dreamcast. It really was an ill-fated console. You know, it was really only on the market for a couple of years, and then it was discontinued and Sega left the console market entirely. But that hasn't stopped it from building and maintaining an incredible legacy. So many people look back on the Dreamcast extremely fondly, myself included, largely in part mainly because of its absolutely incredible library of games. This console had so many excellent games that you really couldn't find anywhere else, and even here 20 years later, the Dreamcast remains one of my favorite consoles of all time. And we're gonna look at my top 10 favorite Dreamcast games. Now, to start it off, a disclaimer, of course, this is my top 10 list. This is not everybody's top 10 list. This is just my 10 favorite games on the Dreamcast, personal favorites, and certain things I do want to shout out and give honorable mentions to. First of all, the Dreamcast was an absolute monster when it came to fighting games. If I wanted to, I could probably fill this entire list with nothing but fighting games. But a few fighting games that didn't quite make the cut, didn't make the list. Guilty Gear X, released only in Japan, an absolutely incredible fighting game, still around today, one of the best fighting game series out there. The Dreamcast version is amazing. Rival Schools 2, aka Project Justice, Garo Mark of the Wolves, freaking Puzzle Fighter. There's just so many fighting games to list, and not everything is going to make it in the top 10. And then there's things like Cannon Spike, Jet Set Radio, Sonic Adventure 2, I like the second one better. And then, widely considered one of the best Dreamcast games, Shenmue. Doesn't make my top 10 list, even though I own a physical copy. I haven't played it enough. I simply haven't played it enough to, in good faith, put it in my top 10 list. I want to keep it real with you guys. So, let's move on to my top 10. Capcom vs. SNK 2. Again, there's a lot of fighting games on this list. And Capcom vs. SNK 2 is still one of the greatest fighting games of all time. The roster, this gigantic roster of amazing Capcom characters, SNK characters, it's like a dream come true. Just look at this character select screen, look at the stages, the sprites. I know a lot of these sprites are just copy and pasted from other games, but I do not care. This game's a fighting game fan's wet dream. And there's so many ways to play, right? You have the groove system where you can choose different mechanics from different franchises and different games. You got the ratio system, so you can pick up to 3 characters of varying strength. You know, CVS 2 is still considered among one of the best fighting games of all time for very good reason. Resident Evil Code Veronica. This is a very, very good Resident Evil game built for the Sega Dreamcast. And I know a lot of people are probably going to point out that I put Code Veronica as number 9 out of 10 in my top 10 Resident Evil games list. And that doesn't mean I don't like this game. I do like this game. It's Resident Evil. It's like one of my favorite franchises of all time. Claire Redfield is back. Chris Redfield is back. Wesker is a badass villain in this game. But, you know, you do have some annoying enemies, some annoying characters with, like, Steve Burnside and stuff.
Shut up! I don't want to talk about it!
But it's still hands down the best survival horror game on the Dreamcast, and definitely deserves a spot in my top 10. Next is Spawn in the Demon's Hand. Now, this is a game that I admittedly became more of a fan of just recently. About a month ago, we did a retro runback video on Spawn in the Demon's Hand, and I captured a bunch of footage, and I played the game a crap load that week, and I really fell in love with the game. I became a huge fan of it. It's an arena combat game with a crap load of characters, a crap load of weapons, and it's absolutely broken. You can play as these gigantic, overpowered demons, or you can play as like a wolf. It's so ridiculous, it's so much fun, it's got amazing multiplayer, absolutely worth checking out. Next on my list is Soul Calibur. When the Dreamcast first came out, Soul Calibur was like the system seller. It was like the reason to own a Sega Dreamcast because it just looked incredible. It looked so amazing, and Soul Calibur itself was a damn good fighting game. I actually really love Soul Calibur 1 and 2. They are two of my favorite 3D fighting games of all time. And the Sega Dreamcast, of course, had the absolute best arcade ports because the Dreamcast itself, the system architecture, was based off of the Naomi board that was used to run a lot of these arcade games.
You win!
Alright, next on my list is Crazy Taxi. I fucking love Crazy Taxi. It's such a strange premise for a game. You're a cab driver picking people up and taking them places. That is it. But at the same time doing these crazy, ridiculous stunts in between, while of course rocking out to its amazing soundtrack. I swear, The Offspring and Crazy Taxi, name me a better duo. I'll wait. It was so nostalgic going back and playing this game again to capture this footage that you're watching, and I'm terrible at it. I used to be really good, but man, it just got me thinking. I'm like, man, this game is still so fun. Why? Where is this, drop a $20 new version of Crazy Taxi? I'd play the hell out of it.
Class C license. You don't belong down here. You better try it again.
Speaking of good music and soundtracks in video games, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. Now, of course, this game was out in arcades and it got released pretty much everywhere, but to me, Third Strike will always be a Dreamcast game. This game honestly has so much going for it. The sprites, the animation, just the pixel art in this game, some of the best I've ever seen, and the mechanics, the parrying. Oh my god, this is one of the deepest fighting games, so difficult, but extremely satisfying to learn, very rewarding. And when Street Fighter 3 first came out, a lot of people didn't like it. This game actually bombed when it first came out. It took Second Impact and then Third Strike for people to finally come around to it, and even then it wasn't this runaway success that obviously Street Fighter 2 was. But years, decades later, people look back on Street Fighter 3 as arguably one of the best fighting games of all time. I can't not mention Power Stone. Can't not mention Double Negative. Power Stone! Man, Power Stone is amazing! Where is Power Stone in 2019? People still love these games. Power Stone, of course, was an arena fighting game where you could pick up weapons, and of course you could pick up these Power Stones, which would transform your character into a more powerful version. It's one of those games. It's really something special. It's really something special. It's really heartbreaking that this franchise has just kind of been abandoned and forgotten, because there's 100% still an audience who would love a new Power Stone game. And I say Power Stone 1 and not Power Stone 2. I am a bigger fan of Power Stone 1 over 2. 2 gets a little too crazy for my liking. Still a very, very fun game. But Power Stone was the perfect blend. It was the perfect balance of chaos and then also skill and strategy. Skies of Arcadia. The Dreamcast was known for a lot of things. RPGs, not really one of them. It didn't really have a deep library of RPGs. It was Skies of Arcadia, Grandia 2. But on the bright side, Skies of Arcadia is a very, very good RPG. You're playing as these sky pirates. The story is super epic. You're flying around in your own sky pirate ship. It's so awesome. Sega still owns the rights to Skies of Arcadia. They released a GameCube version. And then you'll see the main character Vice show up in Valkyria Chronicles as a special kind of side character. And then there's Skies of Arcadia levels in the Sonic racing games. But what I would really like to see, I'd like to see Skies of Arcadia come back. I really doubt we'll ever see a new game in this series, but at the very least, start with a remaster. Re-release it, see how it does, see if it resonates. I think Skies of Arcadia deserves another chance.
Capcom presents.
Of course, this game is going to be on the list. Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Forget about the Dreamcast. This is one of my favorite games of all time. In my top 10 superheroes games list, I listed Marvel vs. Capcom 2 as my favorite superhero game of all time, and I 100% stand by that. Just look at this character select screen. Look at this roster. All of the fan service on both the Marvel and the Capcom side, playing as Jill Valentine versus Cyclops. What fucking universe is this? I still can't believe this game exists. And the Dreamcast version, this is the the best way to play, better than the PS2 version, better than the Xbox version. MVC2 on the Dreamcast is an excellent, near-perfect arcade port. I've been beating this drum forever. Marvel vs. Capcom 2. This game is a masterpiece. It's really something special. Capcom, Marvel, please, just put it out. Just re-release it. The people need it. The people deserve it.
Man, I almost had a heart attack there.
Finally, we've reached the end of the list, and I'm going to finish it off with hands down the game on the Dreamcast that I sunk the most time into, and that is Phantasy Star Online. I sunk hundreds upon hundreds of hours into this game, just grinding and hacking and slashing away. This is the first online game that I ever played, which is crazy to think about. You know, we take it for granted now. We can just play online anywhere at any time with our phones or whatever. But this was an online RPG on a console, on the Dreamcast. It's crazy to think about, and honestly, it helps that the game was really, really good. I'd team up with just like 3 other like strangers and just run the same stage, run the same bosses over and over, just, you know, grinding, hoping to get that rare item drop. This game was so addicting. I loaded it back up and created a new character to capture this footage. And man, talk about nostalgia. Just the music alone brought back so many memories. It's crazy to me that Phantasy Star Online 2 is coming out here in North America literally next year, which, I mean, it's been out in Japan forever. But I'm gonna check it out just solely based on my history and my legacy with PSO. This game is incredible, and I think it might just be my number one favorite Dreamcast game of all time. Ooh, that is it. That is it for my top 10 Dreamcast games. Here's to 20 more years. Let me know, of course, what your guys' favorite Dreamcast games are. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out.